Nokia. For so many of us, that name just brings back one thing. A phone that was basically indestructible with that iconic ringtone. But that phone, that's just one chapter in a story that's over 150 years old. It's a story about reinvention, about unbelievable success, a truly catastrophic fall, and then a quiet, powerful rebirth that most of us never even noticed. So let's get into it.
All right, I want to start with a question for you. What in the world could possibly connect rubber boots, toilet paper, and mobile phones? I know, it sounds like the beginning of a really weird joke, right? But the answer tells you everything about the surprising and kinda strange origins of a tech giant.
You see, long before Nokia was connecting people with calls and texts, it was making, well, a lot of other stuff. We need to go way, way back to a time before anyone even dreamed of a phone you could carry around in your pocket. So, the answer to that question? It's Nokia, of course. The company's story actually starts way back in 1865 as just a single paper pulp mill in Finland. And over the next 100 years or so, it grew by merging with two other big Finnish companies, one that made rubber and another that made cables. And by 1967, they all officially became one big happy family, the Nokia Corporation. And this new corporation, it was all over the place. I mean, they made everything. We're talking forestry products, which, yes, included toilet paper, you heard me. They also made those iconic rubber boots, car tires, industrial cables, respirators for the military, and they even became one of the biggest TV manufacturers in Europe. They were an industrial giant, but just a million miles away from mobile phones. But then came the pivot, the one decision that changed absolutely everything. Nokia saw where the future was headed, and they bet the entire company on it. It was a move that would eventually put their name in billions of pockets all around the world. Okay, so the real turning point is 1992. The new CEO, a guy named Jorma Ollila, makes this incredibly radical decision. He decides to sell off all those other businesses, the rubber, the cables, the TVs, all of it, to focus on one thing, and one thing only: telecommunications. It was a massive, massive gamble.
And just look at the incredible leap this move allowed them to make. I mean, Nokia had played around with phones before, like this Mobira Senator from 1982. But let's be real, that thing was a 22-pound car phone. It was literally a brick. Fast forward to 1998, and you get the Nokia 5110. It was small, it was affordable, and it was designed for you and me. This was the revolution.
So how'd they pull it off? Well, their formula was pretty simple, but totally brilliant. First, they went all in on the new GSM digital standard, which basically let phones all across Europe talk to each other for the first time. They were obsessed with making their phones super easy to use, and maybe most cleverly, they marketed them as fashion accessories, not just boring tools. Remember those amazing swappable Express-on covers? Genius! And it all came together in 1998. That giant gamble from a few years earlier, it paid off, big time. Nokia blew right past their biggest rival, Motorola, to officially become the #1 mobile phone brand in the entire world. And they'd hold on to that top spot for over a decade. What happened next was just total dominance. In the early 2000s, Nokia wasn't just another phone company. It was the phone company. Seriously, they seemed completely untouchable. This chart really says it all. At their absolute peak in late 2007, Nokia had over 40% of the entire global market. Just look at that gap between Nokia and everybody else. Their competitors weren't even playing in the same league. Think about that for a second. 4 out of every 10 phones sold on planet Earth was a Nokia. Incredible. Their power was so massive that in the year 2000, the Nokia Corporation alone accounted for a staggering 4% of the entire GDP of its home country, Finland. That's one single company making up a 20th of an entire nation's economy. Just mind-blowing. But inside this untouchable kingdom, something dangerous was starting to grow: complacency. When you're that far ahead, you just stop taking risks. A former employee even described the culture inside the company as a Soviet-style bureaucracy. Management was basically drunk on success, and they'd become allergic to the very innovation that got them to the top in the first place. The seeds of their downfall were being planted right in the middle of their greatest success. And then, just like that, the world changed. A totally new kind of phone showed up, and the king of the mobile world was caught completely flat-footed. What Nokia did next has become one of the most famous and cautionary tales in the history of business. The collapse was just shockingly fast.
You can see it here. The iPhone lands in 2007, Android follows in 2008. Suddenly, it was the touchscreen era, and Nokia's old operating system felt ancient overnight. They panicked, brought in a new CEO in 2010, who then wrote his famous memo and jumped into a fateful partnership with Microsoft. But it was too little, too late. By 2014, the legendary phone business they built from nothing was gone, sold to Microsoft.
So what was that memo? In 2011, the CEO, Stephen Elop, sent this brutally honest email to every single employee. He compared Nokia to a man standing on a burning oil platform in the middle of the ocean. He said, "We can stay on the platform and be consumed by the flames, or we can jump into the icy waters of the unknown." It was a terrifying admission that only a radical leap could save them.
And that leap, that jump into the icy water, it was a partnership with Microsoft. Instead of adopting Android, which was already taking off, Nokia decided to bet the farm on Microsoft's new and totally unproven Windows Phone. They were betting against the two giants, iOS and Android, that were already defining the future. It was a bet they were doomed to lose.
So, in 2014, Nokia sells its phone business to pretty much everyone. This looked like the end of the line, game over. But this is where the story gets really, really interesting. While everyone was writing Nokia's obituary, the company was quietly pulling off a brilliant pivot, going right back to its industrial roots.
Their comeback plan was just brutally efficient. First step, cut off the dying limb. They sold that struggling, high-profile phone division. It was painful, sure, but it had to be done. Second, they took the money and went all in on the part of their business that was still a quiet giant, network equipment. They went huge, buying their major competitor, Alcatel-Lucent. The new goal was no longer to be the device in your pocket, but to be the backbone of the entire mobile world, building the 5G networks we all use every day.
So where does that leave Nokia today? Well, they're one of the most important tech companies you probably never think about. They're one of the top 3 network equipment makers on the planet, literally building the future of 5G. And that deal to buy Alcatel-Lucent, it came with an incredible prize. The legendary Bell Labs, the research center that invented the transistor. And here's the best part, the ultimate irony. Through all their patents, Nokia still gets a little piece of almost every smartphone sold today, including the very iPhones and Androids that crush them.
And finally, in 2023, they made the transformation official. They unveiled a brand new, modern logo for the first time in almost 60 years. The message couldn't have been clearer. We are not the phone company you remember. We are a B2B tech powerhouse, and we're building the future. Nokia's wild ride proves that no company, no matter how powerful, is too big to fail. But it also proves that you can survive a near-death experience if you're willing to radically adapt. And it leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. Which of today's untouchable tech giants could be facing their own burning platform moment tomorrow?